We really don't know why morning sickness happens. Fingers crossed it'll be just part of the first trimester, but unfortunately some women suffer longer than the first 12 weeks.
This is On Nutrition, a podcast from Mayo Clinic where we dig into the latest nutrition trends and research to help you understand what's health and what's hype. I'm Tara Schmidt, a registered dietitian with Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. This episode, nutrition during pregnancy. There are so many worries that can come up when you're pregnant. Can I avoid a peanut allergy for my baby if I eat the right things now? Should I be taking a prenatal vitamin even before pregnancy? And for the love of all that is holy, how do I stop this morning sickness? Whether you're a first-time parent or a pregnancy pro, each time can be different, and challenges are sometimes just unavoidable. Here to give some research-backed guidance is Kate Zeratsky, a registered dietitian at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Kate specializes in helping people at all stages of life find the eating patterns that make them feel well, especially when they're growing a whole human inside of them. Hi, Kate. Thanks for being with me today.
You're welcome. It's so nice to see you always.
Nice to see you. I want to tell you that you're one of my mentors, but I called someone my mentor once and they got super offended because it made them feel old. So how can I tell you that you're one of my mentors, but in a young, fun, cool way?
I know I'm kind of old. So
you're not old. That's the point, though.
No, thank you. That's a very nice thing to say to someone.
I pulled you in to help me talk about pregnancy and nutrition. And I feel like when people talk about pregnancy and food, they always have one thing that comes to mind, like some kind of craving or urge or some kind of strange combination, like pickles dipped in peanut butter, which really freaks me out. I didn't have that. I ate a lot of cereal, I feel like. Did you have any weird pregnancy cravings?
I did not. I think mine were more comfort food cravings.
Oh, yeah.
And they were different with every pregnancy. Nothing tasted better than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yes. I remember wanting sourdough with butter, just white bread with butter.
Very basic and maybe telling because maybe it's that our inner child as we're pregnant kind of coming out.
So not necessarily evidence behind your body needs X, Y, Z?
No, I can't say that there's evidence, but there's definitely theories. The theories being that when women crave certain things, it's the idea that some of it might be that it's a nutrient your body is looking for. So some women might crave meat or they might crave citrus fruit, iron, vitamin C, some of those key nutrients in pregnancy. I think one thing that is rare but happens and I think important for women to know about is if they're having a strange craving.
Yes, soap, clay.
Yeah, non-food. Soap, dirt, something like that. That can be a sign of a deficiency, commonly iron, but not necessarily. But if a woman is having that type of odd non-food type craving, talk to someone about it so they can find out what the deficiency is and help you fix it so you can feel better.
A burger one time. And if you know me, I'm not a red meat person at all. And I remember someone's like, oh, you need iron, Tara. It's your body telling you. And I was like,
yes.
You know what? That might be true. And I'm going to eat the burger. It's fine. Whether or not it's scientific, we're just going to eat the burger and move on with our life.
Yeah. I often tell women this when they're pregnant. When a woman is pregnant, it's a time of your life where your body speaks to you very loudly and you're tuned in. And so listen to your body. Whether it be about nutrition, about exercise, about your sleep, whatever it is, it's probably trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Is there any scientific backing to the phrase eating for two? Because yes, you're growing a human, but some people hear that phrase and think they need to be eating twice as much as they normally do.
You need double portions, right?
Yes.
If a woman has looked at those pictures of the size of the baby at different phases and where they compare it to a blueberry or a bean or a grape, that little blueberry doesn't take a lot of energy. So in the first trimester of pregnancy, your energy needs, your calorie needs don't really change that much. So you can just, eat well, but eat as you have been. It's not until we get into the second and third trimesters when that baby is larger and requiring more energy and just kind of higher nutrient demands, it becomes especially important, as they develop their tissues, their bones, those types of things. Yeah.
Let's talk about those calorie benchmarks because I remember doing a project in college where I gave examples of what that would be in terms of extra
Oh,
calories
yeah,
and
sure.
reminding people like, this is not a whole pint of Ben and Jerry's, everyone. Like, this is one extra glass of milk and an apple
Mhm.
with peanut butter. So let's talk about those numbers.
Yeah. So like we said, first trimester, it's really, you don't really need any extra. But when it comes to, say, the second and third trimester, we're thinking on the average 300 calories. Specifically, if we get into it, the textbook says 200, and I think it's 240, 250 the second trimester, and maybe it's 450 in the third trimester. And women need not absolutely count their calories if they don't want to, but thinking about it in the terms of realistic, like what does that mean in food? As you said, it could be a glass of milk with a few crackers. It could be half of a sandwich with meat and cheese on it. It could be, fruit and yogurt. I think the key there is we're talking about kind of whole nutritious foods. And I think sometimes when we think, oh, I get 300 extra calories, I'm going to eat a brownie. And there's nothing wrong with having a brownie, but when we think about why do you need those extra 300 calories, it's because you need to grow and nourish that baby. So being very purposeful.
When I remember being the excellent dietitian pregnant lady that I was, I remember thinking like, okay, Tara, if you're going to have this extra nutrition, what are you not getting? And I wasn't meeting my calcium needs, and I just know that about myself. So I said like, okay, if you're going to have those extra calories, you are going to have cereal and milk, right? Or maybe a brownie and some milk, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I also don't think that people necessarily need to force it. Everyone's body is different. Everyone's pregnancy is different. But I think a lot of times you just recognize that you're hungrier than usual. So it's not that we have to go like searching for 400 extra calories. You're probably just going to eat it naturally.
Yeah.
But pregnancy is a time when your body and appetite aren't what they used to be. So what about when eating isn't so easy?
To your point, some women, especially in the first trimester, don't feel good. And then some women, as their baby grows, they feel like, gosh, I just don't have a whole lot of space. It gets difficult for them to eat a full meal. And so sometimes we have to be creative in eating kind of smaller, more frequent meals to make sure that we get what we need.
And we've been talking about what we get to eat and some of the fun things. There's also this list of foods that a pregnant person should or shouldn't eat. And I think there is some confusion out there on why and how important is it and how risky is it. What are the different reasons why nutrition is so different for a pregnant person? What are the different factors they need to consider that they might not have thought of outside of pregnancy?
When a woman is pregnant and we think about the growth and development of that baby is growing their skin, their organs, bone and muscle, and all of those things. And so that when you think about what supports that, there's different nutrients. So we think about not just calories as energy to support that, but there's protein and carbohydrates and fats, and then all the what we call micro or small nutrients that are very important that women consume.
Can I name a few and you can tell me if they are totally off limits or kind of do we have wiggle room? And some of them, there are guidelines of you can eat this if you do this to it. So heat it up, for example. So can we go through some of those?
Yes. When a woman is pregnant, your body is changing. So your immune system is different. Baby has developing immune system. So when we think about that, it really is important to practice food safety. Wash your hands, cook your food till it's done, cool it quickly, and if you're going to have a leftover, reheat it. Those are some key things. Beyond that, there's certain foods that they're kind of a little question mark around. Like, I think deli meat because deli meat is a little bit risky. But how do you make it acceptable? You have to heat it until it's steaming. We're kind of looking at getting it up to 165 degrees. So it has to go into a microwave, most likely, or in a hot pan where you can see that steam coming off of the meat. And then you've probably reached that 165 degrees. I can't guarantee the toaster oven is going to get you there if the sub shop has the toaster oven. So I would say if they have a microwave there, have them do that first before they toast it for you.
What about unpasteurized or soft cheeses? Is it the fact that it's a soft cheese or is it the fact that it's unpasteurized? Are those two different categories, right? You can have soft cheese that is made with pasteurized milk.
So when it comes to cheese, we want it to be pasteurized. Pasteurized just means it's been heat treated. Again, when we heat treat something, we kind of make that bacterial count, the number of bacteria there in a place where it's considered safe. Now, there are different types of cheeses that have kind of natural bacteria or molds or things like that in them. They're considered safe molds for most people. Again, in the world of being pregnant, your body's just working a little bit different. So I think I'd be just a bit more cautious with those. But if it comes from a pasteurized milk source, you're generally pretty safe.
Raw fish like sushi.
I would put a hold on sushi while you're pregnant. Wait till baby is born, and then you can enjoy it again. And during pregnancy, fish is great, but just make sure it's cooked.
Let's have cooked fish, preferably. Or if you're at like a really high-end sushi place, Mayo said I was probably okay as long as it wasn't like gas station sushi, God forbid. But cooked fish, I hear people worry about mercury. And I think there's a very nice little chart that we can share.
That FDA chart?
Yes.
We have it on mayoclinic.com too.
It really does list high risk versus low risk fish, specifically for pregnant women and children, because those are the highest risk populations. So which ones should we be eating or shouldn't?
Fish is good. We want you to eat fish at least once, maybe 2 times a week. Generally speaking, we want to eat the smaller fish and maybe some fish that has a little good healthy fat in it. So like a piece of salmon, that would be a very acceptable. Or if you have access to like trout, that would be another great option. But simple, tuna fish out of the can. Simple, basic, easy. Now, when it comes to tuna, though, the things we want to keep in mind is the chunk light, kind of your basic tuna, that comes from a moderate-sized tuna fish. And so that's going to have less mercury compared to an albacore or sometimes white tuna. So during pregnancy, choose the chunk light, the skipjack, that's kind of moderate-sized tuna within the tuna family.
Caffeine. This is a tough one because even for some people, like a symptom that they're pregnant is fatigue. So how much caffeine, how much coffee can we have?
Yeah.
Are there teas we need to stay away from?
Caffeine is one of those things we should limit. And generally 200 milligrams or less, which allows for a cup of tea, allows for a reasonable sized cup of coffee. Now I think that's the key because a traditional cup of coffee is 6 to 8 ounces. So if you're going to a coffee shop, you're going to get something much taller. So it's going to have a higher caffeine content. Caffeine content varies on type of coffee bean, how it's brewed, those different things. And here's a fun fact. There's also what turns women off when they're pregnant. And I have had so many women say, I knew I was pregnant because I went to get my morning cup of coffee and nope, couldn't do it.
The smell.
Yeah. And the taste difference, the smell difference, they just know they're pregnant. We go back to our theories. Is there something about that? And again, theories of bitter foods. Historically, if something were bitter or sour, it could be a sign that the food had gone bad or spoiled or had too much bacteria in it. And so it might be something that's kind of protective for us.
And if you really, really love the taste of coffee, or you just want to kind of stick with your habit of your morning coffee because you don't have kids yet and you can enjoy it before it goes in the microwave 3 times, decaf, like just have some decaf.
Oh, sure. And that's just it. I think we hear so much about the benefits of coffee, the coffee bean being a high antioxidant source in many people's diets. I think it is. If you can still do a decaf coffee, Or, there's benefits to tea too. Now, herbal teas, I'll say there's kind of a question mark around herbal teas because, quite frankly, we just don't have data. We just don't know if it's safe or how safe. And I think with any sort of herbal supplement, a lot of times herbs are used medicinally or used to get an effect. And we don't necessarily want that when we're pregnant. If it's something that would make a muscle contract, we don't want that when we're pregnant because we don't want premature contractions. Play it safe. If you have a question around herbs, ask a medical professional. They can probably look up the herb to see if there's any side effects that might make it not such a great idea.
Any fruits or veggies we need to stay away from? The one that I thought has actually been removed from some restaurants because of its frequent risk. Sprouts.
Yeah, sprouts. Just the way sprouts are, I guess, grown or kept. They're in usually a water bath and they're kept oftentimes refrigerated, which should control bacterial growth, but they are kind of raw and they've been known to have bacterial contamination. And they're not a food we typically heat up to manage that bacteria count. So I think sprouts are one that would probably be a good idea to probably stay away from during pregnancy. Again, wash your hands, rinse your fruits, rinse your vegetables, give them a little scrub, clean them. That's important. Sprouts are just hard to do that with.
I think the last one on my list is alcohol. I want to say that you will be given guidelines like what we are doing today with a little bit more strictness behind them because we have to keep you safe and it's our job to keep you safe. So I think I hear a lot about like, well, in Europe, they drink wine when they're pregnant, or it's just this amount, etc. So we're just going to say we don't consume alcohol during pregnancy because there is no known safe limit.
It's the risk and it's the potential risk. And I remember what my dear OB physician said to me when I asked this similar question, because culturally it's handled very differently. And he said, it's the potential risk. And he said, and then there's mother's guilt. And that is not anything I want you to have to deal with too soon, because eventually you deal with it anyway when you're a mother. But if you can minimize risk, minimize risk.
Any concern with soy? I feel like soy gets a bad reputation, generally speaking, and I like to remind people that is, again, very healthy. There are many benefits to soy. It's almost the opposite of what we hear. In pregnancy, is there any concern with soy?
No. And to address your concern, yes, I think some people with soy can have kind of a weak estrogen-like effect, and they worry on even if you're carrying a male child, would there be an effect there? No. And to your point, soy is a nutritious food. Soy has very protective effects. And so it's important to have, if you eat soy, whole soy products like soybeans, edamame, or things made from them. And in fact, I've read that the recommendation while you're pregnant is actually to have 2 to 4 servings of a soy food. So that's like a half a cup to a cup of a soybean or a soy milk or something like that. So it's perfectly safe and has really good nutrients in it. It's a good source of protein and is one of the plants that's a complete protein, meaning it has all the amino acids. So from that place, it's like closest you're going to get a plant protein or a plant milk to a cow's milk. And then choline, which is another really important nutrient during pregnancy because choline is really important for like nerves and nerve development. Soy is a good source of choline too.
Are there any other foods or beverages I missed that need to be avoided or even reduced during pregnancy?
It's kind of like going out to a restaurant. It's how well are they keeping things clean? If you walk into the kitchen, you want a clean kitchen because you want safe food to be produced. Same thing with soft serve ice cream. You think about the tanks or the tubing at which the ice cream flows through. Those need to be cleaned. And if they're not, it could be a source of bacterial contamination. So I think when you're pregnant, the more control you have over the food, probably the better.
We also don't want people panicked, right? Like if you are doing your best to consume healthful, nutritious-ish foods.
Yeah.
And you're doing your best to keep yourself nourished and hydrated, and you're being smart, you're probably okay. So I don't want this to cause more stress for people during pregnancy, because I think that it's already a stressful time.
Yeah.
There's already a lot of rules to follow.
Yeah. And I think when you're pregnant, because you are very responsible, feeling very responsible for this baby, it can be a high anxiety time. And if anyone's feeling that way, should I or shouldn't I kind of go back to the basics? Like take a deep breath and just be like, okay, wash my hands, cook my food, choose my basic food groups. That's what we're looking for.
So we know that your eating habits may change drastically when you're pregnant. You might have cravings, which can offer insight into nutrient deficiencies, or just reflect a desire for comfort. You'll also need to start eating a little bit more than usual, especially in those later trimesters. And if eating isn't so easy, you might need to nibble on smaller meals throughout the day. What's really important is food safety as you protect your immune system and build your babies. So avoid foods with bacterial risk, like sprouts and soft serve ice cream. And be a bit particular with your food. Make sure to heat your deli meat and avoid most raw fish and unpasteurized cheese. Eating soy is encouraged, and drinking a cup of coffee is okay. Just talk to your doctor if you prefer to sip on herbal teas. We're taking so much care with our food because certain nutrients are important for the development of the baby. So let's talk about the specific nutrients to target during pregnancy. Let's talk about nutrient needs. So you talked about micronutrients. There's also macronutrients, so kind of a carb, protein, fat, etc. Which are the most important? Which nutrients should patients focus on during pregnancy, macro and micro?
Yeah. When we say macro, the carbohydrate, protein, fat, they're all important. And I hope that keeps things simple to say it allows you to eat foods that you like, foods you enjoy, and give you variety in your diet. You don't have to be afraid of carbohydrates. You don't have to be afraid of fat. They're all good. And yes, you need some protein because you're growing a whole new human. So I want people to feel like they can eat a variety of foods. And the good news is to eat enough carbohydrate. Most foods have carbohydrate. So your fruit, your dairy, your starchy foods like your breads, your noodles, your rices, even your starchy vegetables like your potatoes and sweet potatoes or squashes, peas, they're all fantastic. And we can say, in addition to the carbohydrate, they're going to give you some of those micronutrients we'll talk about in a minute. For some women who are watching their weight gain through their pregnancy, I don't want you to feel like, oh, I can or can't have this. It's portion size. Enjoy the food you like. Don't feel like you can't have your mashed potatoes if that's your comfort food and that's what you're craving. Just watch your portion when you have it. Fat, that's another big one. Like, should I or shouldn't I? Yes, you need fat. Baby needs fat. That's really important for the developing brain. And so you do want to eat things like nuts, seeds, avocados. Some people just like the taste of butter. Some butter is okay. But if you like nuts and seeds, this is a time to eat more nuts and seeds. This is a time to enjoy an avocado because not only do they give you healthy fat, but they're also good sources of fiber and some of those micronutrients that are, again, really important during pregnancy. And then there comes protein, which I think if we have protein-rich foods throughout the day, like morning, midday, and evening, you're going to do okay with your protein. So it's not like you have to count grams of protein, but protein-rich foods. I think we often think of meat, but there's so many foods that give you protein. So beyond meat, there's all the dairy products. So your milk and your yogurts and your cottage cheeses and other cheeses. And then there's things like eggs. But even if you get into the plant family, we've got beans, lentils, some of the soy foods, and nuts and seeds have a little bit of protein. Even some of our grains, which we don't think about that. When you have your pasta, you're getting some protein. And some grains like quinoa, technically a seed, but in the grain group, that's one of the grains that's considered higher in protein. So like buckwheat can be good sources of protein for a lot of people.
Any micronutrients that we should be intentional about? Like I need to make sure I get my iron in, etc., or
Yeah.
calcium, or is our prenatal kind of going to cover us here?
Yeah. A prenatal might be a great help for some women. So, in key nutrients, because our blood volume increases so much during pregnancy, just naturally, the iron that was normally circulating in our blood is just diluted. So, we just have less. And the requirement for iron is about 1.5 times. In fact, a lot of the nutrients are about 1.5 times greater when you're pregnant. So, your iron needs are higher, and iron is just a difficult nutrient to absorb because you don't want too much of it. And so our body protects us against that. Some women, when they're pregnant, have an aversion to meat. They're like, oh, I can't even look at chicken or red meat. I can't do it. Okay, so what are my other sources of iron? Well, there are plant sources of iron. A lot of your leafy greens, your beans, like your black beans, red beans, and lentils can be sources of iron. When we have the plant sources of iron, we want to just make sure we pair them with some vitamin C so we absorb it better. But hey, you know what? You might need a little help if you're having that meat aversion. So a prenatal that has iron in it can be helpful. And I think that's the key thing about the prenatals. There's so many different kinds out there. And gummy prenatals are so popular again because just a lot of times taste better, but the gummies often don't have the minerals that are really important during pregnancy. So some of the other minerals and micronutrients that are really important for women beyond iron would be magnesium, iodine, selenium. Those aren't necessarily in a lot of gummies. So iodine, we always tell people don't salt your food. Well, this is the one time we might talk about salting our food with iodized salt, not sea salt, not a special salt, your basic iodized salt. And you don't need much. You just need a pinch. That gets you your iodine. But here's another thing. If you're eating your dairy products, drinking your milk, having your yogurt, things like that, you'll get your iodine. Other key nutrients, calcium. But again, if you're not a milk drinker, you don't love yogurt, you can get calcium from other sources. Could be a plant milk. It could be the plant itself. It could be leafy greens, almonds, things like that. Just know that you have to eat quite a lot of those
broccoli.
things.
Yeah.
You got to get a lot of broccoli. And quite frankly, if you're in your third trimester, it just doesn't fit, right? Yes. You get too full. And so the prenatal won't have a lot of calcium in it. It's purposeful because it's probably going to focus on having the iron. And so it's on us to get the calcium. So if you know that you're not necessarily a big consumer of dairy, you might need an additional calcium supplement. So that would be a good thing to talk to a dietitian or your doc about, just to make sure we get the right dose and based on what you're eating. Your B vitamins, they're all really important. And B vitamins come from generally meat. So if you're a vegetarian, that might be, again, where a prenatal is helpful and beneficial, just to make sure we're getting that whole kind of variety of those B vitamins, because there's several.
And if you are or have someone in your life who's a vegan or a vegetarian, hopefully they didn't decide to become one with pregnancy. But what we talk to them about is just the nutrients which they're risking not getting by not having animal products or meat. We just say, okay, if you're not going to have dairy, do you have a calcium plan? If you're not going to have any animal products, do you have a B12 plan?
Right.
How's your iron? So there aren't necessarily different guidelines for our vegetarian or our vegan pregnant patients, but maybe just a little bit more diligence, and definitely may have to have extra help from a supplement or more than one. But talk to your OB about it, because we can pretty quickly assess, how long you've been vegetarian or vegan, what your restrictions are, what your normal dietary intake is. And that's where dietitians, of course, they'll probably just send you right our way anyway. They have other things to worry about.
I did think of one more, the omega-3 fats. I've noticed that a lot of prenatals are adding these omega-3 fats. When we were talking about fish earlier, this is one of those reasons we talk about including fatty fish, your salmon, your trout, sardines, those oily or fatty fish. Those are generally good sources of those omega-3 fats, which again are really important for brain, eye, nerve development in the baby.
And let's talk about when we should be starting a prenatal, because it's not necessarily when you find out that you are pregnant.
Right.
How far in advance, if you are considering pregnancy or trying to conceive or just of childbearing age, when should we start that prenatal?
That brings us to one of our other key nutrients that we didn't talk about was folic acid or folate. And that's generally the reason why we think about starting that prenatal or a multivitamin prior to even being pregnant, is to just make sure that we have that folic acid or folate on board, because oftentimes the early development of the baby, the early development of that kind of spinal cord, spinal column, folate is very important for that. And if we don't have it in those first weeks, when some women don't even know they're pregnant, we don't want to miss out on that. So that's why you'll hear that women of childbearing age or who are actively thinking about becoming pregnant should or could be taking a complete multivitamin. And I think another thing too is the expectation isn't to be perfect. And I think that's where just your basic multivitamin mineral supplement or a prenatal with the vitamins and minerals can be helpful. It's a safety net, and it takes a little of the pressure off.
Do we need extra water?
Oh, yes, we do.
Hydration.
Blood volume's changing, baby's floating in fluid, your body is changing, your digestive system is working different. So many reasons we need more fluid. So when you think about the basic rule of the 8-ounce glasses, we move it up to about 12. 2.5 liters of water. Some women will feel better with a little bit more, a little bit less. But again, listen to your body. And if things aren't moving through you as they should be, you probably need a little more water. If your urine is real dark, darker yellow, that's a really good indicator you need more water.
Bump it up. When it comes to getting those macronutrients, there may not be much change from your regular diet. You'll need to eat a variety of carbs, protein, and fat throughout the day. It's usually easy to get enough carbs. Protein can be found in meat, dairy, eggs, and beans, and healthy fats like nuts, seeds, and avocados are especially important for your baby's developing brain. What's also crucial are your micronutrient needs, many of which can be fulfilled by a prenatal vitamin, especially if you're not eating animal proteins. You can get iron, vitamin C, magnesium, iodine, selenium, calcium, vitamin B, and omega-3s from foods or supplements. But make sure to talk to your doctor or dietitian about dosage. And please, please, please drink more water. Pregnancy hits everyone differently, but one thing is guaranteed: your body will change. So let's wrap up by talking about those changes and if we can help manage some of them with our diet. Are there any dieting styles that people should avoid? So if they were intermittently fasting before pregnancy, if they were doing low carb or keto before pregnancy, what do we need to not do during pregnancy?
Our body will appreciate if the nutrition is spread out through the day. If we kind of throw it all at our body in one meal or 2 meals, it's kind of overwhelming. It's not going to be as able to absorb what it wants to or needs in that time. So if we can spread out our nutrition from morning to evening, you're just optimizing your potential of getting what you need in, getting what baby needs in, and allowing for that absorption and comfort. And that's another thing as we think about as the baby grows. If we were not eating in the morning or not eating in the evening, whatever it might be, we're missing that opportunity to kind of sneak in those key nutrients or those things that our body needs. So I think it's a time to probably take restriction away and allow your body to get what it needs in a reasonable amount of time and not put any more stress on it.
I was just going to say, now is not the time to restrict. So what's your why behind it, right? So if you've been vegan or vegetarian for your whole life and that's the values that you have related to food, we can deal with that. But if it's more of like a weight-related restriction, calorie-related, not the time, folks.
And I think when you're pregnant, you have to honor if it's cultural or religious or, other kind of things that are important to you for whatever reason. But within that, I think it's, how do we do it? to make it work and make sure that you and babe get everything they need. And I think we can work with it, right? I think that's the key is
we're reasonable.
Yeah.
Is there any evidence behind mother consuming allergens during pregnancy or breastfeeding? Like, I'm going to make sure I have peanut butter frequently, one, because it's delicious and a good source of healthy excess calories. But does that actually decrease the risk of baby having a peanut allergy, or is that just kind of a myth?
The science is not strong. Let's put it that way. But it's not going to hurt.
It's not harmful. I was going to say, if you're not allergic to peanuts.
It's not harmful. It's not going to hurt. And it might help. That's just it.
Sure.
It might help. And so I think if it's probably better to consume nuts and seeds and peanut butter and any of the potential allergens during pregnancy, because there is a whole kind of body of science looking at desensitization. Now, whether or not it's absolutely effective when you're pregnant, we don't have a clear-cut answer on that, but there are a few studies that say, maybe it could help.
And if we think about those foods, most of them are nutritious, right? Like
absolutely.
Fish, eggs, dairy.
So unless the mother has a sensitivity or an allergy and she should be avoiding, there's no reason to avoid any of those potential allergens. If you tolerate it, eat it.
I think we know that pregnancy induces a lot of changes to the body inside and out. So let's talk about the physical changes and kind of what factors are within our control. I think a lot of people think of morning sickness.
Oh, sure.
What's happening there? And is there any way that our diet can help to mitigate it?
And, we really don't know why morning sickness happens. There's a lot of thoughts, theories, and potential hormonal changes that probably play into it. And so, number one, try to stay hydrated because, dehydration, not good for you, not good for babe. So sipping on water, sipping on some sort of liquid or foods like soups or things like that, do that. Some women will find that just keeping a little something in their stomach kind of helps settle it a little bit. And oftentimes what those things are kind of a dry, bland, kind of starchy something.
Saltines.
Yeah, saltine crackers. You hear about that. I liked your example from earlier when you said, this like cereal. What's nice about just like a very basic dry cereal is that oftentimes they're fortified. So if you don't feel like eating much, nibbling on a little bit of fortified cereal might settle your tummy, give you some of those vitamins and minerals, and hopefully ease some of those symptoms. Some women, if they're really struggling, they could talk to their provider like about a B6 supplement. Nurse practitioners will use that as a potential way to subside some of the symptoms. And sometimes it's just time, just kind of waiting it out. Fingers crossed it'll be just part of the first trimester. But unfortunately, some women suffer longer than the first 12 weeks. This is where like a ginger candy, a peppermint candy, or something like that is just something that is soothing to you.
We're just trying to survive here, people.
Use it.
There's a lot of digestion stuff going on, too. So I think we hear about heartburn and constipation. Are things just moving real slow?
Yeah. So many changes with the hormones that support the pregnancy. It changes the way our digestive system works, kind of how fast our stomach empties. And those hormones are doing things they need to do to support that baby and to try to get nutrition to that baby. But now it's going to be slower during pregnancy and it's going to move a little slower. And then as baby grows, then we just have a little just space restrictions. So there's kind of a multitude of things happening there that can impact your digestion. So again, eat your fruits, eat your vegetables. They've got fiber and they've got water naturally in them. So they kind of work together. Some of your whole grain products, so oatmeal, make it with water and milk. Another thing that is just walk, move. If you move, generally that helps your bowels move. Fluid, fiber, movement.
Smaller meals sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes that can be helpful. Yeah.
Another condition that comes up a lot, and I think makes a lot of people nervous, is gestational diabetes. Can you tell us more about this, why it's an issue, and most importantly, can it be prevented?
What's happening is because when you're pregnant and if you choose to breastfeed, your body is putting that baby first. And so while you're pregnant, there is hormones that help direct the nutrition to the baby. And so you're not absorbing those carbohydrates maybe as well as baby is. And when carbohydrates digest, they digest down into sugar. And so the sugar that's circulating around in your blood, in your body, that level might appear higher because, again, your body's trying to circulate it down to baby. And so when that happens, if your blood sugar is a little higher, you could be diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And that can be really scary, that term diabetes, for a lot of women. Now, it's a temporary thing just during the pregnancy, but good nutrition, exercise, just good, healthy lifestyle habits come into play during pregnancy and lifelong, because it does put you a little higher risk of having type 2 diabetes later in life. So just take care of you with good nutrition and exercise and good habits. But can it be prevented? I think we can do our best to eat well and exercise, but it's not necessarily going to absolutely prevent it. Because like I said, it's a hormonal thing.
It's not your fault.
Blame the hormones. Don't be afraid to have your noodles and your rice and your grains and your potatoes. It's going to come down to portions and eating all your food groups.
We hope you meet with a dietitian.
Yes.
And they will give you a nice little chart, I was going to say.
Give you some guidance. Yeah.
Why do some people have lovely pregnancies where they gain exactly 25 pounds and other people have more weight gain than desired, don't feel like they're in control over their weight gain? Is it genetics? Is it habits? Is it health prior to pregnancy? What's going on?
It's probably all of the above or certain things within that. I don't think we can say. And some women will find that, and this was my experience, I had the textbook weight gain in the first pregnancy, and my next two, not textbook. And if I can ease women's mind, if you're eating well and you're moving or exercising a reasonable amount, and you're feeling good, and then you go to your doctor's appointment and they say, well, you're not gaining weight, but they measure or ultrasound, they look at baby. If baby's growing, that's the important thing, that the baby is growing and developing as it should. Now, if baby's weight gain is slower than it should be or greater than it should be, then okay, let's make some adjustments to what we're eating or how much we're exercising. But weight can be stressful any time of life. And then add I want to do this all right because I'm pregnant. That can be really daunting for a lot of women. And the last thing we want is for someone to have that added stress or guilt. And just think about, I eat to nourish. And so you want to eat good, wholesome foods. And again, if you want a brownie now and again, that's okay. And move as it makes your body feel good. From there, kind of let nature take its course.
What are you in control of, right? Like, you are in control, generally speaking, of what goes into your body. You are in control of, generally speaking, how you move your body. You're not in control of how your body reacts to pregnancy, whether you are or are not going to have morning sickness, whether you are or are not going to have weight gain within the right limit that the chart says. We do what we can and we move on.
Right. I feel like I'm doing good things for me. You're doing good things for baby.
And I think that leads us to weight loss after pregnancy.
Oh, sure.
Dilemma, right? Like, I hate the phrase body after baby. You had a body before baby. You had a body during baby. We don't need a new body after baby. And things are different. They have shifted. They have sagged maybe a little bit. So I think it's absolutely reasonable for people to want to healthfully lose weight or return to closer to their baseline weight. But know that will take time. Know that you have a new human to take care of. So sometimes your priorities get a little overwhelming, and we're just going to do our best. It doesn't need to be within 10 weeks or in 3 months or whatever, or you don't need to look like the influencer who has their abs back. That probably is genetics in all honesty, and maybe their excellent exercise routine. But let's be kind to ourselves and sleep, right? Because I think that that's a lot more important when you have a new baby at home than depriving yourself and going on a diet and like trying to do some video on your phone when the baby's sleeping. That's good if it brings you joy, if it brings you endorphins, if it helps you to feel well. I don't want it happening when you could be napping and your body does not feel like exercising.
And think about it, your body is healing. And so you probably have a few weeks, depending on how you delivered that baby, how that delivery went. Mm-hmm. Your body has to recover. And so to recover, good nutrition is important. And again, now you have a baby, and so you're taking care of a baby, and sometimes it gets hard to take care of yourself. But we still need to, because again, we're recovering. And so again, this is my advice to women, things you can eat with one hand.
Okay, I definitely spilled quinoa on my child one time. It was not hot. They were fine, but I was like, this is complicated.
Your types of foods might change again because you might not have or want to take the time. Maybe you love to cook before, but now you just don't have the time. There's nothing wrong with a bowl of cereal and milk and a piece of fruit. There's nothing wrong with some whole grain crackers and some cheese and a bag of baby carrots. Keep it simple. Good things in your body help you recover and heal. If you give your body, the things it needs to recover and heal, you're going to feel better. So then you're going to be able to move and get your sleep. Because again, if we're sleep deprived, that just makes everything harder.
Yes. Kate, thank you so much for being with me today and all of your wisdom. I think you not only have the knowledge of this topic, but also are so good at putting your patients and all of us at ease.
Oh, well, thank you, Tara.
Pregnancy is a time when so much is out of your control. Your body changes, your symptoms, even your due date. What you can control is your movement, the nutrients you target, and how often you eat and drink. Growing a new life is not the time to restrict calories or try to lose weight. Make sure to ask for medical advice when possible, spread your nutrition throughout your meals, and get all the sleep you can. Because there's one thing for certain, after that baby comes, things will never be the same. That's all for this episode, but if you've got a question or topic suggestion, you can leave us a voicemail at 507-538-6272. We might even feature your voice on the show. For more On Nutrition episodes and resources, check us out online at mayoclinic.org/onnutrition. And if you found this show helpful, please subscribe and make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. It really helps others find our show. Thanks for listening. And until next time, eat well and be well.